This is the biographical information of Homer A. Plessy and John Howard Ferguson. Homer A. Plessy was a man born in 1862 in Louisiana, and he was born of a very mixed heritage, meaning that he was an octoroon per se. An octoroon is a man that is 7/8 white and 1/8 black. So, since Homer A. Plessy identified himself as more white than black, in 1896, when he tried to board the white side of the train, since at this time Louisiana had the law of separate but equal and that public transportation is racially segregated, however, people had the right to the enjoyment as to equal quality of races. So when he tried to board the train, it was very frowned upon that he tried to join the white side of the train. Therefore, when he did this, people told him to move to the black side of the train since he was identified as black. And Homer A. Plessy refused to do that, as he found himself white. Therefore, he was taken to court. Now, John Howard Ferguson was the judge that decided in Homer A. Plessy the outcome of the case, which inevitably would be that they would rule in favor of the mantra separate but equal.
Hello all. This photo gives perspective on how racially segregated this era was. As you can clearly see, the masses of people had very strong opinions about the separation of white and blacks. And when it came to the subject, that really sparked Plessy to take a stand to help get equal rights for blacks.
What happened in the Plessy case was that in June of 1892, Homer Plessy boarded a car of an East Louisiana railroad that was designated for use by white patrons only. Although Plessy was born a free person and was 1/8 black and 7/8 white, under a Louisiana law enacted in 1890, he was classified as black and thus required to sit in the colored car. When, in an act of planned disobedience, Plessy refused to leave the white car and move to the colored car, he was arrested and jailed. The Supreme Court upheld the right of Louisiana to have done so. In the Supreme Court's decision of Plessy v. Ferguson, the court upheld the constitutionality of racial segregation, even in public accommodations, particularly railroads, under the doctrine of separate but equal, which was not to be overturned until 1954 when the Supreme Court decided Brown versus Board of Education.
Progressive era. This era was an era of reform. Starting in the 1890s, this era basically wanted to restore economic opportunity, foster efficiency, protect social welfare, and fight for the philosophy of equality amongst all. Sadly, this era didn't last too long because it ended in the 1920s.
The context of the case, Homer A. Plessy versus John F. Ferguson, was Homer A. Plessy was in prison since he refused to move himself from the white section of the train in Louisiana when he was asked to move to the black section. Since being 7/8 white, Homer A. Plessy thought moving to the black section was nonsense as he was more white. However, due to his controversial decision, they decided to arrest him on the spot and bring him to Supreme Court. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of John F. Ferguson as they legislated separate but equal and legislated segregation as well. In fact, they ruled in favor of John Ferguson. It was a landslide, as Ferguson won the vote 7-1, as Homer A. Plessy was still in prison for 20 days due to violating the law in Louisiana. So, let's talk about how this all connects the Progressive Era to Plessy and Ferguson. So, Progressive Era obviously advocated for social reform. Thus, it connects to Plessy vs. Ferguson, or Plessy vs. Ferguson connects to the Progressive Era, since both advocated for social equality, for racial equality, and for also better opportunity in the world, and which both were which both were ideals at the time for Homer A. Plessy and for all the people that were civil rights activists, and also for people that wanted to see progressivism take hold in this country and to see it be very prevalent throughout the country. Therefore, since both aim towards social reform, they both intertwine with each other and connect on the fact that they wanted to make everything better.